of the qualities that we stereotypically assign to women, has forged what was before silos into one cohesive high-performance team. And this high-performance team has then made that things that always inhibited the growth, you start scaling up, something breaks in the technology, something, you fix it, you further scale up, something goes wrong in compliance. But once we had all the components of all the talents in the company aligned, then suddenly it's just started that we could go into the seamless growth mode and scale the business by a factor of 7 within only 4 years.
Welcome to the Impact Multiplier CEO podcast. I'm Richard Medcalf, founder of X Quadrant, and my mission is to help the world's top CEOs and entrepreneurs shift from incremental to exponential progress and create a huge positive impact on our world. Now, that requires you to reinvent yourself and transform your business. So, if you're ready to play a bigger game than ever before, I invite you to join us and become an Impact Multiplier CEO. How can you reinvent a successful business and add $500 million turnover in just 4 years? Well, this is what I explore with Michael Riedl, who is the CEO of Team Internet. Now, that was a business that was founded many years ago, mainly focusing on domain names. And yet there was a moment where Michael realized that there was a huge opportunity for a different business model. He pivoted the company around that idea. They acquired 17 businesses in 4 years. They then dealt with all the silos that business had acquired. They streamlined it, and then they scaled really fast. This is a really fascinating conversation about business reinvention and internal cultural change and external results. So enjoy this conversation with Michael Riedl. Michael, hi, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Richard. Happy to be here today.
Yeah, well, it's a real pleasure to have you, because back in season 9, we had Ben Crawford, who was the CEO of a company called CenturyLink. And CenturyLink became, I think, under your stewardship, Team Internet. And so it's great to actually see the family tree evolving here on the podcast. What I'd love to explore today is really the fascinating journey of that business since we spoke to Ben several years ago, because in the last 4 years, you have reinvented that business. You've added, I think, over $500 million to the turnover in that period. And you've taken a tiny part of that business, and it's now become way larger than the original domain name business that CenturyLink was originally founded to deliver on. So without giving away all the juicy details, let me kind of pass it back to you and just take us back perhaps 4 years or whatever it was when you came into the business. And what was the context, and what's happened since?
Right. All is accurate. And of course, I very fondly remember the times when we were still CenturyLink, and when I was very closely working together with Ben Crawford to build the foundation of what is now Team Internet. And the company has undergone a dramatic metamorphosis. So in 2018, Team Internet, or its predecessor CenturyLink, and a company called KeyDrive agreed to merge with each other. So KeyDrive is a company that Alex Zifrin and I built over the years from a certain series of acquisitions to build one of the leading domain name wholesalers in the world. And in 2018, we then decided to merge our company KeyDrive with CenturyLink in London. So our ambitions have always been to exit the company through an IPO, or to at least create a capital gain event through an IPO, which we then did. And CenturyLink was just a marvelous partner, because we were both active in the domain space, but with complementary strengths, where either us or CenturyLink would always be the number one in a specific business activity. And this is something important. I will come back to that point later, being the number one in in certain carefully curated niches. And when then finally Ben Crawford and I joined our forces rather than going on the hunt separately to each other, we went into overdrive mode, and within only 4 years acquired 17 other businesses, which we then merged into the CenturyLink platform. And one of these businesses is a company that goes by the name of, guess what? Team Internet.
Ah, there we go.
And Team Internet was very important to us because it complemented the business case of the old CenturyLink business. Being a domain business is very attractive because you can never outright own a domain name. The customer has always to renew it on an annual basis, which means that most of your revenue just walks through the door again and again and again. Yet, one very large customer group of domain businesses are domain investors. And what is a virtue for the domain business is a pain for the domain investor. Just to hold on to your inventory, you have to pay the renewal fees again and again and again. And this company, Team Internet, had built the leading so-called domain parking business, where these domain investors could actually submit the domain names. We would then put advertising on these domain names that is very smartly targeted based on the actual domain name, and then share this income with the domain investors, which then helps them to offset their renewal fees or even generate an outright profit from holding on to the inventory. And this is why this was very important to us to actually go into this business, because it is good for the long-term health also of the domain industry. And I had already been responsible for such a business that went by the name of NameDrive, which was part of the KeyDrive group, which we had merged into CenturyLink. However, we had sold it a few years ago to this company, Team Internet, because they offered a price that was too good to reject at that time. And it was only through circumstances that lie in the nature of the owner of Team Internet, which was an Israeli ad tech group by the name of Matomi Media, who had unfortunately navigated themselves into a difficult financial situation. And so this is why they had to dispose of their Team Internet business, which was the biggest cash generator of the group. And given our healthy financials as CenturyLink and also our excellent understanding of this business, we were then the successful bidders brought into the business. However, we had to go through one epiphany in order to really make it the business that it is today, which is that these park domain names are so efficient in generating revenue from the traffic that they receive, that we learned that we can actually advertise these park domain names on other platforms. So where we then started putting ads on news websites, on social media, and actually then brought customers to these domain names. Let's assume you have a domain name bestbanks.info. You would then put an ad, the best banks in 2024, on an advertising network, send the users there, and then the algorithm on this website, on these park domain names, is so smart in picking in delivering the exact right ads and putting them in front of the user that you actually generate more advertising income than what you spend actually promoting your park domain name. And this epiphany that this model works was the catalyst to grow this business, which had roughly $75 million of revenue in 2019, just when we acquired it, and which then helped us to grow it to more than $500 million of revenue in 2023. And we're not yet done with the growth journey, so we have huge plans for this business to grow it further, because there's always a market to bring those who have traffic, like social media networks, and those who want the traffic, being the advertisers, together. And This is a highly automated business, largely working on AI, in particular machine and deep learning technologies, that then addresses this very big addressable market of online advertising. So only Google, our main partner in this business, generates $165 billion of revenue in a year, and we are happy to be a trusted partner of Google and surfing in the wake of their success.
Wow. So it's a great story. So what I'm hearing is, I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds like, you had this business, you acquired 17 companies, you merged them together. And then you had like this epiphany, and you're like, oh, great, we can just like monetize this, and boom, the revenues appeared. Was it as simple as that, or was there actually a deeper transformation in your own business that you had to achieve? So in other words, was it just spotting a thing you could do, and it was pretty simple to then turn that on as a revenue stream? Or was it a whole new set of capabilities you had to build to deliver on that insight?
Well, I think this is one of the eternal truths of business. There is no easy success. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and someone else would have already eaten the lunch long time ago. And when you scale a business at that pace, everything must link together. Your product people must resonate with your sales and marketing people. The product people must resonate with the tech people. You need to build the right guardrails around the business to make sure that it doesn't drift off the road when it's accelerating at full throttle and spinning wheels. And we were lucky to put together the right management team in the company. So we had to do some overhaul of the management team. I very early, as the chairman of that subsidiary, brought in a new CEO to run that business, Gael Lallemore, who is still with us, and Gael, with many of the qualities that we stereotypically assign to women, has forged what was before silos into one cohesive high performance team, and this high performance team has then made that things that always inhibited the growth, you start scaling up. Something breaks in the technology, something you fix it, you further scale up. Something goes wrong in compliance, but once we had all the components of all the talents in the company aligned, then suddenly it's just started that we could go into the seamless growth mode and scale the business by a factor of 7 within only 4 years.
Wow. So so tell me about that. So how, what's my question here? The question is, you said, there were silos. We created one high performing team where everyone's speaking to everybody and things are all aligned. What was the key shift that had to happen to turn those silos into a high performing team? Right? What were the assets that you had to implement into the business, or what were the shifts in thinking that people had to go through?
Right. There was how are silos created? Silos are often created from a lack of trust, and this company that we had acquired has undergone a relative rapid sequence of ownership. The founders had ceded the control to a strategic investor. The strategic investor went into financial difficulties, which then made them trying to squeeze out as much money out of the business, not investing into the business anymore. So people in that business were maybe not perfectly trusting the next owner of the business. And but how can you build trust? It's I think one thing that I have learned over time as a leader, it is more important to ask the right questions than necessarily having the right answers to all the questions, because you are endowed with that has all the knowledge, just knows all the customers, that knows everything that breaks in the machine room. So it's that skill of asking the right question, also truly listening, also being willing to listen to the inconvenient truths, and create a space in which people feel safe to open up about the challenges that they have, and you as a leader rather nurturing them and helping them overcome their challenges rather than punishing them for things that go wrong.
I'm always curious. Can you think of an example of when you had to, listen to an inconvenient truth, in the business as there was this shift happening? I'm always curious if there's examples that come to mind. I know it might have been a long time ago some of this, but fascinating.
Yeah, well, there are there's just without going too much into the internal kitchen of all the things that happen. But that company had gone through some compliance challenges before we owned it, where through the platform there have been too high degrees of low quality traffic being sent to advertisers back in 2019, and you then have to confront the ugly truth and ask them, okay, what is it that has happened? Was it a cultural thing that maybe the company knowingly sacrificed traffic quality over financial success? Was it something that maybe we simply didn't see because our business partners were smarter than the company? And then to really figure out together with the team, what is it really? What is the root source of the symptom that you notice? And then going through a cycle, asking them again, why is it that we've done this? Why is it that we've done that? And until you really arrive at the root cause of the challenge, I think that's in the painful discovery work that you have to go through. But while there's some pain going through the process, learning everything about your business, in particular also the things that inhibit the success of the organization. If you don't do that, there's another pain which is much bigger, which is the pain of regret. The pain of regret of not having built the business that it could have been. And luckily we chose the first pain, the pain of discovery and self-reflection. And this has then helped us to build the business, and the success is documented in our financial results.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I know, Michael, is that through this process, you took the business on an internal and an external transformation, because you not only rebranded the whole business, right, as Team Internet. I guess CenturyLink had been a big brand for you, and you rebranded everything. And you also worked on a whole new set of internal company values and internal cultural moves. So kind of what was the rationale behind those two things, and where did you start?
Right. So we don't start directly with a deep dive into one of the constituents of Team Internet Group. And when I stepped up as the CEO of CenturyLink at that time, CenturyLink had become a relatively non-inclusive name. We had done so many acquisitions, and these acquisitions together were roughly 200 times the size in terms of revenue. Strike that, 100 times the size of the original CenturyLink business. And so the name was not very inclusive. And for us as a leadership, it was a formidable opportunity to give the company a new identity. One identity that's then shared by everyone, not like the acquirer who had acquired all these businesses, but engage with all the talents in the group, not only those in the corporate HQ, to really formulate what is it that we want to be. And the name Team Internet is a formidable one because of the fact that the group is built from different businesses, like the domain business, like our original Team Internet business that we spoke about, like our product comparison business, vergleich.org, and the many other great businesses in the portfolio. So the team character, just like in a soccer team, basically represents that also a soccer team lives from all the different talents, from all the different characters that are on the field, just like also the different businesses that we operate. Each of them is like a player on the football field. However, they still have to play together in order to score a goal. So this is why we really liked this team analogy. And on the other hand, you also need to give an organization some kind of focus. You can't do just everything. And so here it's very clear, look, everything that we do has something to do with the internet. And not just in general terms. The initial idea behind the internet is basically to connect people. And all the businesses that we operate in some way connect other businesses. Either in the domain business, it connects the domain registry, like for example, Nominet, who is running .uk, with a business that needs a website, a local website address for the UK. Or, as I mentioned before, where we connect consumers on social media with the advertisers that have advertised on search engines. It's always about connecting different people to create value that without us would just be forgone. And this is why we felt that team and internet together pretty much represent of what we want to do. Together with that, we also thought about what is really important to us, really as values, as opposed to financial outcomes, which of course every company at the end of the day also needs to deliver. And the first value is we act like owners. To me and to everyone in the leadership team, it is important that people take ownership of what they do in the company. If they see that there's something broken in the code, I would expect them to fix it and not wait until someone in the hierarchy gets aware of some problem and then delegates it fixing. So this is a very important value across the entire group, and this is why I'm mentioning it first.
I hope you're enjoying this conversation. This is just a quick interlude to remind you that my book, Making Time for Strategy, is now available. If you want to be less busy and more successful, I highly recommend that you check it out. Why not head over to makingtimeforstrategy.com to find out the details. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, actually, let me jump in on that one, because ownership is a huge thing, right? Every leader craves more ownership in his team or her team. It's a huge thing. So I'd love to kind of talk about your experience in, to what extent have you felt that? Has there been a shift? Was it always good and you're just kind of codifying and celebrating what already exists? And that's part of the question. I suppose the other part is me being slightly provocative, which is one pushback some people might say, again, with ownership, is, well, it's easy to tell all your employees to be an owner, right? When you actually have all the stock, right? And they're not owners, they're employees. So they're never going to take the level of ownership that you really want because they're not incentivized in that way. So just kind of wondering whether you had to wrestle with those kind of questions.
Right. So first of all, we have when I speak about ownership, I basically speak about ownership of each and everybody's own remit, basically what they can influence, and not everyone can directly influence the share price of a company. However, everyone within the remit can contribute to it. And this is also why we have a company-wide stock option plan. So everyone in the company is included in the stock option plan, not only the senior executives of the company, and we also have a bonus plan that is very closely linked. To the financial results of the company. So it's not a direct profit share, but comes very close to a profit share agreement. And so if everyone does the best they can do within their own remit, the whole should also resonate with that and perform well. And then there will also be positive impacts on each and every one in the company. And I truly feel that there is a change in the company, and but it then comes back to that trust aspect that I mentioned before. In order to get there, you need to come to a culture where people rather seek forgiveness for having done something wrong, rather than seek for approval and maybe never getting it because there are too many layers of hierarchy above. And here, given that this is a leadership channel, as a leader, you need to be authentic, and you also need to live up to that value. And then also grant forgiveness if someone in good faith thought to do the right thing, and maybe it later proved to not be the right thing. And but on this level, we as leaders are not in any way better than the people doing the actual work. Probably in most cases, the software engineer will know much better what to fix in his code than I could ever know in 100 years. And this is why I think it's so important to empower your team in order to do the best. And this is how we've managed to steer the ship out of a pandemic into a big confidence shift in the European economy, caused not only by hyperinflation, increasing interest rates, a Ukraine war, and we've never seen any quarter with decline. So each quarter is better than the prior year quarter, despite all these adverse impacts to the left and to the right. And this is my sincere conviction. You can only achieve when you activate the swarm intelligence within your organization, that everyone knows what they need to do for company success. If everything has to run through one central nervous system, you just become too slow. Just like your body has certain reflexes, you step on a thorn and you instantly go back without your brain first having to think about it. Oh, what happened? And then tells you to withdraw the foot. And I think that an organization needs some instincts and some reflexes in order to be nimble in hyper dynamic times like ours.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I'd love to explore that a little bit more. That's like that idea of that decentralization, right? That's kind of nervous system that allows you to respond in different parts of the organization. What was the thing that you did to really create that decentralized intelligence? If you were to really sum it up, and we'll recommend one or two key moves, power move were there.
So certainly one key move was to recognize what we are, which at that time was not yet one unified business where everything is streamlined from the left to the right, but to recognize that that underlying the group, there were still 4 relatively distinct businesses. And so one of the first steps, I think that was after only 6 weeks on the job, we changed the entire org chart from a functional one to a divisional one, recognizing that some businesses are still distinct, giving them their own nervous system in the form of a proper divisional C-level with a divisional CEO, a divisional CCO or COO or whatever the most important talents were to execute the on the specific organization. This has already broken down the management into 4 way more nimble divisions, rather than having to run all decisions through the main board of the company. And then also to inspire these leadership teams to basically do the same thing, to really think like what are the units, what are the true constituents of your division? How do you need to organize yourself so that there's always someone in charge who can very quickly react to any changing market need? And yes, I would say that division reorganization was certainly one of the key steps in order to step up in terms of flexibility and reactivity of the company.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, great move. So within just a few weeks, really saying we can have 4 management teams running these things rather than trying to go through the joined up. It sounds like you actually went into more chaos by having these decentralized things rather than saying, because almost the instinct I could have imagined, it could have been to say, we've got all these businesses, we want to create one team internet, right? One unified thing, and actually go the other way. Did you have that desire? Did you have a conflict? Like, as in, we need to bring people together and not separate them into more silos?
This is also why we've chosen the sequence to first do that your organization, and then engage with the 4 divisions and also the corporate level to really come up with one shared new identity, which we then chose to be Team Internet. And to me, it was way less important what the actual name would be than the fact that we basically came up with it together, and it was a shared new name with which everyone identified. I think the other way around in the sequence, the result might have been different. Now we just got like one identity and now we're splitting it up. No, we did the other way around. We first brought order into the house, looked 4 divisions. Everyone knows exactly what they need to do. And then as a team, form your new identity.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's a really great insight. So perhaps on that, Michael, let's turn to the future. What would you love to see? How would you love to see Team Internet multiply its impact in the future? Obviously, you've done extraordinarily well over the last few years. What would be an amazing goal or amazing outcome over the next few years? Is it more of the same, or is there something new or exciting or different that you want to see?
Well, the question is, when you say more of the same, the question is how to define the same. We're pretty unique, but we have a few key principles, almost like constitutional principles. So one of the rules is, if we choose to do something, we want to be the number 1 worldwide in it. And sometimes we might then see that we will then in some niche activities then settle only as a national champion or as one of the world market leaders. But that's always our ambition. If we decide to we very carefully curate the niches in which we operate. And for example, that business that I described first, we are the uncontested world market leader with notable lead. And that's always our ambition. And even if you're not there yet, the ambition never goes away. We always want to play Champions League, and we are going in there to take home the cup and not just for playing on the field. And but taking this away from this from a slightly materialistic perspective, it's also great for the people. So what do we leave? What as leaders? What do we leave behind? In the end, we leave behind a legacy in the form of an organization that we have helped to form, to find itself, a bit like your own children. Nurture them, educate them, train them, but one day they will need to spread their wings and fly. And with this aspiration, but I would not say only aspiration, but also with the belief that we can win, this gives an incredible motivation to the team. Just knowing, okay, this is what we do, which also tells them what we don't do. And our aim is just to be the best at it, because people always love to win. Else there would be no sports if there was no fun in winning. And this then also gives the staff, all the talents in our company, purpose beyond the purely materialistic aspects of life. Today, software engineers are still in high demand. So if they would not like what they do, they could probably move on to somewhere. But they love what they do. They know that they are among the best in their discipline, and this is why they love to play and are happy to come to the field and score some goals every day.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my phrases I often tell my clients, like, to help create games you can win, people can win, right? Help people set them up for success.
Yes, and I think it is super important, and this also why you need to not only choose what you do, you also need to choose what not to do. And if there's a game that you objectively are very unlikely to win, then that's maybe not where you should put your energy to it.
Yeah, and Michael, how about you? As the business continues to scale and grow, how might you need to shift how you operate to multiply your own impact within the business? Because we always have to reinvent ourselves as the business reinvents itself.
Yes. Very, very, very fair point. And the first step that you need to go through is to raise above the level of a manager, not going to the detail and delegating tasks, but more inspiring managers to identify what the necessary tasks are, so that they basically propagate your vision down into the organization. And as we scale up, also my level of direct reports also rise to the level of leaders. And so you basically need to become the super leader that cannot only inspire managers, but they can also inspire other leaders, so that they say, look, I really like this vision. This is really what I want to dedicate my life to, which is one of the most important decisions that you can do. Of course, most of us need a job to pay their bills, but it becomes even greater when what you do becomes a true passion and is what you love. And I think currently at this stage, most people in our group are exactly at that point, that we see that we have true success. We're winning in all the disciplines in which we engage, and this gives everyone a dramatic amount of purpose and energy to drive the story forward.
Yeah, beautiful. So what I'm hearing is, the shift is, you beautifully put it, you can lead, you can do, you can manage, you can lead managers, and then you leading leaders to create that culture that spreads and scales beyond what's already happened.
Right. So, but if you want to paraphrase this, first you take over the organization and you take it to where it must be. You first fix all the things that you find that simply can't be the way that they are. Then you work together with your team to take the company where it should be, like stepping up a little bit. But then the real target is to identify what the organization could be, and then basically draw up that vision, promote that vision within the organization, build consensus around it, build enthusiasm around the vision, so that you can basically pull all the people to support your business, rather than just coming there for the month-to-month paycheck.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Hey, that's great. I love it. Where it must be to where it should be to what it could be, and potentially to what it will be, right? As it all happens. So, Michael, hey, it's a fascinating story. Thank you for sharing the story of this transformation, right? Where you took a traditional if you can call it traditional, it's internet business, but like, a traditional domain name business, you managed to reinvent it. You've unified a whole bunch of separate elements. You've created a consistent culture. You made an agile business. You've found new business models. It's really driven growth. So it's been a fascinating story to hear and to kind of pick up from where we left it with Ben. So if people want to kind of find out, connect with you or find out more about the business, where do they go for that?
Well, our internet address is teaminternet.com. As a probably the main business, we of course own our own name without any dashes.
I expect nothing less.
I try to share as much of my journey as I may on LinkedIn. So I'm rather active there. So happy to have people follow me there and read more about all the next steps that we're up to.
Perfect. Well, hey, Michael, thanks so much. I look forward to following along on the adventure.
Thanks for interviewing me today, Richard. It was really a pleasure talking with you today, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap. If you received value from this conversation, please do leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. We'd deeply appreciate it. And if you'd like to check out the show notes from this episode, head to xquadrant.com/podcast, where you'll find all the details. Now, finally, when you're in top leadership, who supports and challenges you at a deep level to help you multiply your impact? Discover more about the different ways we can support you at xquadrant.com.